The snow fell in Ashford the way it always did in early December. Silent, insistent, blanketing everything in a kind of forgiveness I didn't deserve. I stood at my kitchen window, coffee going cold in my hands, watching the white accumulate on the roof of the workshop next door. Ethan Reed's workshop, my neighbor of 8 months, the man I'd spoken to maybe a dozen times, always in passing, always polite, always careful. The man I was about to ask to pretend to be in love with me. My phone buzzed on the counter. Lily's name lit up the screen. I didn't need to read the message to know what it said. She'd been texting every day this week, counting down. Only 3 weeks until you bring Marcus home. Dad is already planning the menu. I can't wait to finally meet him, Marcus. The name sat heavy in my chest like swallowed glass. I picked up the phone, deleted the message without reading it, made it to the sink before my hands started shaking. 3 days earlier, Marcus had stood in this same kitchen, his jacket already on his keys, already in his hand. He'd practiced the speech, I could tell, probably in his car before coming up. "You're amazing, Mara, you really are." Amazing, the word people used when they meant something else entirely. But I need to be honest with you, I don't think I can do this anymore. The floor had felt unsteady, like standing on a frozen lake hearing the first crack. "Do what? This, us." He gestured vaguely between us as if our 3 years together were just a minor inconvenience he'd finally gotten around to addressing. "You're so much Mara. You plan everything. You need everything to be perfect, and I can't breathe." Perfect. Another word that meant something else. "I don't understand," I'd said, even though I did. I understood perfectly. "I know you're going to be fine." He'd continued, softer now, almost kind. That was worse somehow. "You're always fine. You'll have this all figured out by tomorrow." Then he'd left. Simple as that. 3 years reduced to 10 minutes and a closed door. I hadn't told anyone, not Lily, not Dad, not the concerned neighbor who'd seen Marcus leave and asked if everything was okay. I'd smiled, said yes, said we were great, because that's what I did. I made things work. I made things perfect. Even when they weren't. The workshop next door had its lights on. Ethan worked late most nights. I knew because I'd noticed without meaning to. The warm glow through the windows, the occasional sound of wood being cut or sanded, the way he'd step outside, sometimes his breath visible in the cold, just standing there, like he'd forgotten why he'd come out. I'd watched him once through my own dark window, watched him lean against the door frame of his workshop, his hands in his pockets, his face turned up to the snow. He'd stood there for 10 minutes, maybe longer. Just stood there. When he'd finally gone back inside, I'd realized I'd been holding my breath. I'd been planning this conversation for 2 days, rehearsing it, writing down bullet points, deleting them, writing them again. "Hi, Ethan. I know this is going to sound insane, but I need a favor." "No, too desperate." "Ethan, I have a proposition for you, too clinical. Would you be willing to pretend to be my boyfriend for 3 weeks? Too direct. Too much like the rom-coms Lily loved, and I pretended not to watch. In the end, I didn't plan at all. I just put on my coat, walked across the snow-covered yard between our houses, and knocked on his workshop door before I could change my mind. The sawing stopped. Footsteps. Then the door opened, and Ethan Reed was standing there in a flannel shirt, dusted with sawdust, his dark hair falling across his forehead, his eyes the color of winter storms. He had a smudge of something varnish, maybe on his jaw. "Mara." He said my name like he was testing it, like he didn't say it often enough to be sure. "Everything okay?" "No," I said. "No, actually it's not." He blinked, then stepped back, opening the door wider. "Come in." The workshop smelled like cedar and something warmer, coffee maybe, or the wood stove in the corner. It was tidier than I'd expected. Tools hung on pegboards, lumber stacked by size and type. A half-finished bookshelf sat in the center, its joints exposed and elegant, and in the back corner, covered with a canvas tarp, something else. Something the size and shape of. I looked away quickly. "I'm interrupting," I said. "You're not." Ethan closed the door behind me, shutting out the cold. I was finishing up anyway." He moved to the coffee pot on a small table, poured me a cup without asking. "Black, no sugar." I didn't know how he knew that. Maybe he'd noticed the way I took it at the neighborhood barbecue last summer. The one where he'd stayed for 20 minutes and then disappeared without saying goodbye to anyone. I took the cup, let the warmth of it steady me. I need to ask you something, I said, and I need you to hear me out before you say no. Ethan leaned against his workbench and arms crossed waiting. He was good at that waiting. It was one of the first things I'd noticed about him, the way he didn't rush to fill silence. My boyfriend and I broke up, I said. 3 days ago. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or concern. It was gone before I could name it. I'm sorry. Don't be. I wrapped both hands around the coffee cup. It was probably for the best, but the thing is my family doesn't know. They think he's coming home with me for Christmas. They've been planning for weeks. My sister won't stop texting about it. My dad's, my voice caught. I swallowed. My dad's been so excited. Ethan didn't say anything. Just watched me with those careful eyes. I can't tell them, I continued. I can't show up alone and have everyone worry about me again. I can't be the one they're all looking at with those sad, concerned faces, wondering if I'm okay, if I'm coping, I stopped, took a breath, if I'm falling apart the way I did when my mom died. The words hung in the air between us. I hadn't meant to say that part, hadn't meant to make this about Mom. So I'm asking you, I said, forcing myself to meet his eyes. I'm asking if you would come with me, just for 3 weeks, just through Christmas. Pretend we're together. I know it's crazy. I know I barely know you, but you're the only person I could think of who might understand why I can't, why I need. Okay. I stopped, blinked. What? Okay, Ethan said again. His voice was quiet but certain. I'll do it. You will. Yes. Just like that. He was quiet for a moment. Then he pushed off from the workbench, moved to the canvas-covered shape in the corner. I watched his hand hover over it, not quite touching. I know what it's like, he said, to need people to stop worrying about you. The way he said it made my chest ache. Like he knew, like he understood the specific weight of being someone's concern, someone's project, someone's thing to fix. There's one condition, I said. I can't pay you. I could, but I don't want money. Then what? The workshop. He gestured around us. You're an architect. I've seen your work. The Harper renovation downtown. The community center you designed last year. I hadn't known he'd noticed, hadn't known he paid attention. I want to expand, he continued. Add a showroom, maybe a small storefront, but I don't know how to make the most of the space. I don't know. He trailed off, ran a hand through his hair, leaving more sawdust. I don't know how to make it feel less like a place I'm hiding and more like a place I'm building something. The honesty of it surprised me, the nakedness of it. I can do that, I said. I can design that for you. Then we have a deal. He held out his hand. I took it. His palm was warm, calloused, careful. We shook once. Neither of us let go immediately. Thank you, I whispered. Ethan's eyes held mine. Don't thank me yet. We started the next night. I made a list because, of course, I had of things we needed to establish. How we met, how long we'd been together, what we liked about each other, the kinds of details families asked about. Ethan sat at my kitchen table reading the list with a small, almost smile playing at the corner of his mouth. What? I asked. Nothing, it's just very thorough. Is that a problem? No. He set the list down. No, actually, I think it's kind of perfect. There was that word again. Perfect. Okay, I said, sitting across from him. So, how did we meet? The truth. We're neighbors, Ethan said simply. We met at the neighborhood barbecue last summer. We started talking, found out we both like hiking, started going on walks together in the evenings. That's actually good, I admitted. And then one night on one of those walks you told me about your work, about how you see spaces, how you imagine what they could be. And he paused. I told you I'd never met anyone who saw the world that way. I stared at him. You're making that up. Are you? Ethan's gaze held mine. Does it matter? My heart was doing something strange, something I couldn't name. How long have we been together? I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. 3 months, he said. Long enough that you'd want me to meet your family. Not so long that they'd wonder why they haven't heard about me. Why haven't they heard about you? Because you're private. Because after Marcus, you wanted to be sure. Because you didn't want to introduce someone to your family unless you were certain it was real. The way he said it made it sound true, made it sound like something I would do, something I had done. What do I like about you? I asked. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. You like that I listen, that I don't rush you, that I understand why you need things to be a certain way, but I don't make you feel like you have to be perfect around me. I had to look away, had to focus on something else, the grain of the table, the cooling coffee, anything but the way he was looking at me. What do you like about me? I managed. You're brave, he said, braver than you think. You lost your mom and you kept going. You built a career and a life, and you made it look easy even though I know it wasn't. You care about people, about making things beautiful, about making things last. You don't know that about me. Don't I? I met his eyes again. There was something in them I couldn't read, something that made me feel seen in a way that was both terrifying and necessary. We should practice, I said, more to break the moment than anything else. Physical stuff, in case my family notices. Notices what? If we're awkward, if we don't seem comfortable. Ethan nodded slowly, stood up, came around the table to where I was sitting. Stand up, he said quietly. I did. My heart was racing now. This was stupid. This was a terrible idea. Ethan reached out and took my hand. His fingers threaded through mine like they'd done it 1,000 times before, like they knew where they belonged. Is this okay? He asked. I nodded, didn't trust my voice. His other hand came up, rested on my waist, gentle, tentative. His thumb pressed against my hip bone through the thin fabric of my sweater. We're just two people, he said, his voice low. Two people who care about each other, who fit together. Okay. Okay, I whispered. He pulled me closer, not too close, just enough that our bodies were almost touching, just enough that I could feel the warmth of him, smell the cedar and coffee and something else, soap maybe, or just him. Breathe, he murmured. I realized I'd been holding my breath. Let it out slowly. There, Ethan said. That's better. We stood like that for a moment, swaying slightly, like we were dancing to music only we could hear. This doesn't feel fake, I said before I could stop myself. Ethan's hand tightened on my waist, just for a second. No, he agreed. It doesn't. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the evening. The way Ethan had held my hand, the way his voice had sounded when he'd listed the things he liked about me, the way he'd looked at me like he was seeing something I couldn't see myself. It was an act, a performance. We were rehearsing, but it hadn't felt like rehearsal. Around 2 in the morning, I got up, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and went to the window. The lights were on in Ethan's workshop. I could see his silhouette moving inside, working late again. I watched him for a while, wondered what he was building, wondered what he was running from, wondered if maybe we weren't so different after all. The next few days fell into a rhythm. Ethan would come over in the evenings. We'd sit at my kitchen table or on my couch going over details. Building our story, building us. We learned each other. Small things, important things, the way he took his coffee, black 2 sugars, the way I always tucked my hair behind my left ear when I was thinking, how he'd lost his parents young and been raised by his grandmother, how I'd once wanted to be a dancer before I realized I loved designing spaces more than moving through them. We learned how to touch each other without flinching. His hand on my back, my fingers on his arm, the casual intimacy of people who knew each other's bodies. On the 4th night Lily called, I was sitting next to Ethan on the couch, his arm around my shoulders. We were practicing, just practicing, when my phone lit up with her face. Answer it, Ethan said quietly. She'll want to talk to you. Then let her talk to me, I answered. Hey, Lil. Finally, Lily's voice burst through the speaker, bright and loud. I was beginning to think you were avoiding me. Never, I lied. So how's Marcus? Is he excited about Christmas? My throat tightened. Ethan's hand moved on my shoulder, just a gentle squeeze, grounding me. Actually, I said, Marcus and I aren't together anymore. Silence. Then what, when, why didn't you? It's okay, I interrupted. It's actually, it's fine because I'm seeing someone else. More silence. I could practically hear Lily's brain recalibrating. Someone else who? How long? Why didn't you tell me? His name is Ethan. We've been together for a few months. I didn't say anything because I wanted to be sure, but I'm sure now I'm bringing him home for Christmas instead. Oh my God, Mara, I can't believe. Put him on. I want to talk to him right now. I looked at Ethan. He nodded, took the phone from my hand. Hi, Lily, he said. His voice was warm, easy, nothing like the careful way he usually spoke. I've heard a lot about you. I couldn't hear Lily's response, but I could imagine it. The rapid-fire questions, the sisterly interrogation. Ethan smiled. Yes, I'm the neighbor. We met at the barbecue last summer. She was wearing a blue sundress and arguing with old Mr. Patterson about his property line. I thought she was magnificent. My breath caught. That had actually happened. I had worn a blue sundress. I had argued with Mr. Patterson. Ethan remembered. She talks about you all the time, he continued. She says you're smarter than you give yourself credit for, that you see things other people miss. He listened for a moment, then laughed a real laugh, soft and genuine. I'm looking forward to it too, he said. She's told me so much about your family, about your mom, about how much this time of year means to all of you. Something shifted in his expression, something I couldn't quite read. I'm glad I get to be part of it, he said quietly, even just for a little while. When he hung up, he handed me back the phone. You're good at that, I said. At what? Lying. Ethan's eyes met mine. I wasn't lying. You weren't? No. He stood up, moved toward the door. I wasn't. He left before I could ask what he meant. 2 days before we were supposed to leave for Dad's house, I saw it. I'd gone to the workshop to show Ethan the preliminary sketches for his expansion. He wasn't there, but the door was unlocked, so I let myself in. The canvas tarp in the corner had fallen, exposing what was underneath. A cradle. Beautiful, intricate, perfect. Made from cherry wood, the joints seamless, the curves smooth and careful. There was a name carved into the headboard. Sarah. And underneath in smaller letters, and the little one we never got to meet. I stood there staring. My throat tight, my eyes burning. This was what he worked on late at night. This was what he couldn't finish. I heard the door open behind me. Turned to see Ethan standing there, snow on his shoulders, his face going pale. Mara. I'm sorry, I said quickly. I should have knocked. I should have. She was pregnant, Ethan said. His voice was hollow, empty. When she died, 12 weeks, we just started telling people. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The accident was. He stopped, started again. It was my fault. I was driving. The roads were icy. I lost control. Ethan. I'm making them for other people now, he continued like he hadn't heard me. Cradles, cribs, nursery furniture. I thought if I could make enough of them, maybe I could. He trailed off, shook his head. It doesn't matter. I can't finish this one. I've tried. For 2 years I've tried. But I can't. I walked to him, slowly, carefully, put my hand on his arm. You don't have to, I said. I made her a promise. His eyes met mine and they were full of something broken. Before she died, when the EMTs were working on her, she made me promise I wouldn't lock myself away, that I'd let myself live, let myself love again. But I can't. I look at someone and all I can think about is losing them too. Is that why you said yes, I asked, to coming with me, because it's not real, because you know you can't lose something that was never really there? Ethan didn't answer, but he didn't have to. I pulled him into a hug. He resisted at first, then folded into me, his arms coming around my back, his face pressed into my shoulder. I felt him shaking, felt the grief he'd been carrying alone for 2 years. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. We stood there until the sun set and the workshop grew dark around us. When Ethan finally pulled away, his eyes were red but dry. We should go, he said. We have an early drive tomorrow. Ethan, please, Mara, can we just pretend this didn't happen? So I did, because I understood. Because sometimes pretending was the only way to survive. That night, packing my suitcase, I realized something. I'd asked Ethan to pretend to love me because I was afraid of being alone, afraid of being the broken thing people worried about. But Ethan had agreed because he was afraid of the opposite, afraid of being whole again, afraid of letting someone in. We were both hiding, both running. The difference was I was beginning to wonder if maybe, just maybe, we were running toward each other instead of away. The morning we left, the snow fell harder. Ethan picked me up at 6, his truck warm and ready. He loaded my suitcase into the back next to his own, then came around to open my door. "Ready?" he asked. I looked at his face, at the careful way he held himself. At the door he'd opened for me. "No," I said honestly, "but let's go anyway." He smiled, small but real. "That's my girl." The words sent something warm through my chest, something I couldn't name, something I wasn't sure I was allowed to feel. I climbed into the truck. Ethan closed the door, walked around to his side, started the engine. As we pulled out of Ashford, I looked back at my house, at his workshop, at the life we were leaving behind for 3 weeks. When I faced forward again, Ethan's hand was resting on the console between us. I took it, threaded my fingers through his. He didn't pull away. And for the first time in 3 weeks, maybe longer, I felt like maybe I could breathe again. Even if it was only pretend. Even if it was only for now. The drive to Stowe took 3 hours on a good day. Today wasn't a good day. The snow had started as we left Ashford light, almost pretty. By the time we hit the highway, it was coming down in sheets, turning the world into a white blur. Ethan drove carefully, his hands steady on the wheel, his eyes never leaving the road. We didn't talk much. The silence between us felt different now, heavier, like it was holding something neither of us knew how to name. I watched the landscape slide by. White fields, dark trees, the occasional farmhouse with smoke curling from its chimney. Everything looked like a Christmas card. Everything looked perfect. "Tell me about your dad," Ethan said after an hour. His voice startled me. I'd almost forgotten I wasn't alone. "What about him? What does he do? What's he like?" "He's a veterinarian," I said. "Semi-retired now. He still sees patients a few days a week, but mostly he just exists, reads, cooks, takes care of the house. He's been alone for 5 years, since Mom died." "Has he dated anyone?" "No." I looked out the window. "I don't think he wants to. I think he had his person. And when you've had that," I trailed off. "You don't look for it again," Ethan finished quietly. "Yeah." We drove in silence for another few miles. "My grandmother used to say that," Ethan said, "that some people only get one great love, that once you've had it, nothing else comes close. Do you believe that?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was careful. "I used to. And now I don't know what I believe." I turned to look at him. His profile was sharp against the white landscape, strong jaw, straight nose, that slight crease between his eyebrows that appeared when he was thinking. "What made you change your mind?" I asked. Ethan's hands tightened on the wheel. "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." He glanced at me, just for a second, but it was enough. Enough to make my heart do that strange thing again. That flutter skip that shouldn't be happening. This was fake. We were pretending. I needed to remember that. We stopped for coffee an hour outside of Stowe. The cafe was small and warm with mismatched furniture and the smell of cinnamon. Ethan ordered for both of us without asking what I wanted. Black coffee, 1 sugar for me. Black, 2 sugars for him. He'd remembered. We sat by the window watching the snowfall. An older couple at the next table was holding hands, not talking, just being together. They looked content, like they'd been doing this for decades, like they'd perfected the art of companionable silence. "That'll be us in an hour," Ethan said, following my gaze. "What? With your family. We'll be that couple, the one that doesn't need to talk because we already know what the other is thinking." "You think you know what I'm thinking?" He smiled, small but genuine. "Sometimes." "Okay, what am I thinking right now?" Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying me. His eyes were serious, searching. "You're thinking this was a mistake, that we should have come up with a better plan, that your family is going to see through us in 5 minutes and you'll have to explain everything and it'll be worse than just admitting the truth in the first place." I stared at him. That's exactly what I was thinking." "I know." He reached across the table, took my hand. His thumb traced circles on my palm. But they won't see through us because we're not lying about the important things. What important thing, he says? That we care about each other, that we're comfortable together, that this he gestured between us feels real. Does it? I asked. Feel real to you? Ethan's eyes held mine. Yes, he said, it does. The word hung in the air between us. Heavy, true. I pulled my hand back, stood up. We should go. We're already late. Dad's house appeared through the trees like something out of a snow globe. 2 stories wooden with a wraparound porch and smoke coming from the chimney. The lights were on in every window, warm and welcoming. Lily's car was already parked in the driveway. My heart started racing. Hey, Ethan's hand found mine. Breathe, we've got this. What if? We've got this, he repeated firmly. Trust me. The front door flew open before we even got out of the truck. Lily came running down the steps in her pajamas and boots, her blonde hair flying, her face lit up with excitement. You're here. You're finally here. I've been waiting all day. She threw her arms around me, nearly knocking me over. I can't believe you didn't tell me about breaking up with Marcus. I can't believe you've been hiding a whole boyfriend from me. I can't believe. She pulled back, looked past me to where Ethan was getting our bags from the truck. Her eyes went wide. Oh, wow. Lily, I warned, he's gorgeous, like seriously gorgeous. How did you, Lily? Right, sorry, I'll be cool. She turned to Ethan, who was walking up with our suitcases, and extended her hand formally. Hi, I'm Lily, the sister, the one who's been kept completely in the dark about your existence. Ethan set down the bags and shook her hand. Ethan, the boyfriend who's apparently very good at staying hidden. Well, you're not hidden anymore, Lily grinned. Come on, Dad's making his famous pot roast. He's been cooking all day. He's so excited to meet you. She grabbed my hand and started pulling me toward the house. I looked back at Ethan. He smiled. Mouthed, we've got this. I wasn't so sure. Dad was in the kitchen when we walked in, wearing Mom's old apron, the one with the faded flowers, and stirring something on the stove. He looked older than I remembered. More gray in his hair, more lines around his eyes. But his smile when he saw me was exactly the same. Mara Bear. His voice cracked a little. He set down the spoon and opened his arms. I walked into them, letting myself be held, letting myself be small again. Hi, Dad. I missed you. He pulled back and looked at my face like he was memorizing it. You look good. Tired, but good. I'm fine. Of course you are. He kissed my forehead, then looked past me to where Ethan was, standing in the doorway, politely waiting. And you must be Ethan. Mr. Collins. Ethan stepped forward, extended his hand. Thank you for having me. Dad shook his hand, but he was studying Ethan's face with the same intensity he'd studied mine. Reading him. Assessing. Thomas, Dad said. Call me Thomas. Anyone who makes my daughter smile the way she's been smiling in her texts is family. I hadn't been smiling in my texts. I'd been sending the same neutral updates I always sent. But I didn't correct him. Your home is beautiful, Ethan said. My late wife's design. Dad gestured around the kitchen. She had a gift for making spaces feel like home. Mara inherited that from her. She did, Ethan agreed. He looked at me. She has a way of seeing what a place could be, what it wants to be. The way he said it made my chest tight. Dad noticed. I could see him noticing. The way his eyes moved between us. The small smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Well, Dad said, I hope you're hungry. I made enough food to feed an army. Starving, Ethan said, and it smells incredible. Good man, Dad clapped him on the shoulder. Lily, help your sister get settled. Ethan and I are going to have a chat. My stomach dropped. Dad. Just a chat, Dad said innocently, man to man. Nothing to worry about. Ethan caught my eye, winked. We've got this. I let Lily drag me upstairs, my heart pounding. Okay, Spill, Lily said the moment we were in my old bedroom. She shut the door and I leaned against it, arms crossed. Everything, how you met, when you knew, what he's like in bed. Lily won, what I'm your sister, I'm entitled to details. She grinned, then her smile faded. Are you okay? Really okay? I know breaking up with Marcus must have been. I'm fine, I said automatically. Mara. I am. Really. Marcus and I, us, we weren't right for each other. We were never right. I just didn't want to admit it. Lily came over to the bed where I was sitting, sat down next to me. Why not? Because admitting it meant I'd failed again. That I'd spent 3 years with someone who didn't really love me. That I was still the girl who couldn't keep people from leaving. The words came out before I could stop them, before I could put the walls back up. Lily's hand found mine. Mom didn't leave, she died. There's a difference. I know. Do you? Because sometimes I think you've spent the last 5 years trying to prove you're okay, trying to be perfect so the rest of us don't worry. But Mara, she squeezed my hand. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. I couldn't speak, couldn't look at her. Ethan seems different, Lily said quietly. From Marcus, from anyone you've dated. The way he looks at you, it's like he sees you, really sees you. It's new, I managed. We're still figuring things out. Well, I like him, and Dad's going to love him. Anyone who can make you look less like you're carrying the weight of the world is good in my book. She stood up. Come on, let's go rescue him from Dad's interrogation. But as we headed downstairs, I heard it. Laughter. Dad and Ethan in the kitchen laughing about something. When we walked in, they were sitting at the kitchen table, 2 beers open between them, looking for all the world like old friends. There she is, Dad said. Ethan was just telling me about how you argued with Mr. Patterson about his property line. I wish I could have seen that. It was impressive, Ethan said. She had a survey map and everything. That's my girl, Sissy. Dad's smile was warm, proud, always prepared. Lily caught my eye. Mouth told you. Dinner was both easier and harder than I expected. Easier because Ethan fit. He asked Dad about his work, complimented the food, told stories that made Lily laugh. He was charming without being false, present without being performative. Harder because watching him with my family made something ache in my chest, made me wish this was real, made me wish we were really here because we loved each other, not because we were both running from something. So, Dad said, pouring more wine. How serious is this? Should I be expecting a proposal soon? I nearly choked on my drink. Dad, what I'm just asking, you bring a man home for Christmas, I'm allowed to wonder. It's only been 3 months, I said. Your mother and I were engaged after 2. Dad smiled. When you know, you know. Ethan's hand found mine under the table, squeezed. I'm taking things at Mara's pace, he said smoothly. She's worth the wait. Dad looked at him for a long moment, then nodded satisfied. Good answer. After dinner, Lily insisted on showing Ethan the family photo albums. I tried to stop her, but she was already pulling them out, spreading them across the coffee table. That's Mara at 8, Lily said, pointing to a picture of me with missing front teeth. She was obsessed with building forts. She'd use every blanket in the house. I see that hasn't changed, Ethan said. He was smiling at the photo, really smiling. And that's her at 16, her dance recital. She quit right after this. Why? Ethan asked, looking at me. Because I realized I didn't love performing, I said. I loved the stage itself, the way it was designed, the way the space held the performance. That's when she decided to become an architect, Dad added from his chair by the fire. She redesigned her entire bedroom the next week, drew up blueprints and everything. Did you build it? Ethan asked me. Some of it. Dad helped with the rest. I'd like to see it, Ethan said. Your old room, if that's okay. Lily grinned. Oh, it's okay. Mara's going to show you where you're sleeping anyway. My face heated. Lily. What's your adults? You're dating? I assume you sleep in the same bed. We have a guest room made up, Dad said quickly. But if you'd prefer to share Mara's room, that's fine too. I'm not naive about these things. I wanted to die, right there. Just cease to exist. The guest room is great, Ethan said, saving me. I don't want to impose. But Lily was giving me a look, a knowing look, like she could see right through me. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my old bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me, the wind outside, the creak of old floorboards, Dad's soft snoring from down the hall. I thought about Ethan in the guest room, wondered if he was sleeping, wondered if he was staying awake too, thinking about this. about us, about the lie we were living. Except it didn't feel like a lie anymore. The way he'd held my hand at dinner, the way he'd looked at my childhood photos like they mattered, the way he'd fit into my family like a missing piece I hadn't known we needed. It felt real, and that was terrifying. I got up, pulled on a sweatshirt, went downstairs to the kitchen for water. Ethan was already there. He was standing by the window looking out at the snow, a glass of water in his hand. He turned when he heard me. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "No." "You?" "No." Glowing. I got my own glass of water, stood next to him at the window. Our reflections looked back at us ghostly and indistinct. "Thank you," I said quietly, "for today, for being so good with them." "I wasn't pretending," Ethan said. "With them, I like your dad. I like Lily. I like seeing where you came from, who you are when you're home. Who am I when I'm home?" He turned to look at me, softer, less guarded, more like yourself. "I'm always myself." "Are you?" I didn't have an answer for that. "Mara," Ethan said. His voice was different now, lower, more careful. "Can I ask you something, okay? Why did you really ask me to do this? Was it just about your family, or was it about something else?" My heart started racing. "What else would it be about?" "I don't know. You tell me." I looked at him, at the way the moonlight caught the planes of his face, at the intensity in his eyes, at the way he was looking at me like he could see past all my walls. I was scared, I admitted, of being alone, of being the one everyone worried about again, of proving that I can't, that I'm not what, enough. The word came out as barely a whisper. Not enough to make someone stay. Ethan set down his glass, turned to face me fully. His hand came up, cupped my cheek. His thumb traced my cheekbone. "You're wrong," he said. "You're more than enough. Marcus was an idiot. Anyone who couldn't see what they had with you is an idiot." "Ethan, I mean it." His eyes held mine. "Fierce, certain. You're brilliant and brave and beautiful, and you deserve someone who sees that, who sees you." "Do you?" I asked. "See me?" "Yes." His voice was rough. "God, Mara, yes, I see you. I've been seeing you for months. Ever since that barbecue. Ever since you argued with Mr. Patterson in that blue dress, and I realized I'd never met anyone like you. I see you and I—" He stopped, closed his eyes. His hand dropped from my face. "What?" I whispered. "You what? Nothing?" He stepped back. "I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I should go to bed." "Ethan, wait." But he was already leaving, already walking away. I stood there in the dark kitchen, my heart pounding, my skin still warm where he'd touched me. What had he been about to say? What had I wanted him to say? The next morning, everything felt different. Ethan was polite at breakfast, attentive. He touched my hand and smiled at the right moments and answered Dad's questions about his work. But there was a distance now, a careful space between us that hadn't been there before. Lily noticed. I could see her watching us, her brow furrowed. After breakfast, she cornered me in the hallway. "What happened?" she asked. "Nothing." "Mara, something happened. Last night you two were all googly-eyed, and this morning he's acting like you're made of glass. What did you do? Why do you assume I did something?" "Because I know you. You get scared and you push people away. So what did you do?" "Nothing," I said, louder than I meant to. We talked, and it got weird, and I don't know how to fix it." Lily sighed, pulled me into a hug. "You want my advice?" "No." "Too bad. Stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to make it perfect. Just let it be what it is. Let him be what he is. And let yourself feel whatever you're feeling without overthinking it." "I don't know what I'm feeling." "Yes, you do." Lily pulled back, looked at my face. "You're falling for him, and it's scaring the hell out of you." Before I could respond, her phone rang. She glanced at it. Her face went pale. "I need to take this," she said. "It's Jake." Jake, her boyfriend, the one she'd never mentioned was coming for Christmas. She disappeared into Dad's study. I heard her voice through the door, low, urgent, then crying. I knocked. "Lily." The door opened. Lily's face was red and wet with tears. "He broke up with me," she whispered. "He said he's not ready, that he can't do this, that he—" She broke off into sobs. I pulled her into my arms, let her cry into my shoulder. It's okay, I murmured. It's going to be okay. No, it's not. Her voice was muffled. I'm pregnant, Mara. I'm pregnant, and he just left me. The world stopped. You're, what? Lily pulled back, wiping her face. 10 weeks. I was going to tell him at Christmas. I was going to tell all of you. But now I don't know what to do. My mind was racing. Lily, pregnant, alone. Does Dad know? No, I can't tell him. He'll be so disappointed. He'll think I'm making the same mistakes Mom did. Mom didn't make mistakes, I said firmly. She made choices. And she loved us. And Dad will love your baby too. But Lily, well, why didn't you tell me? Because you're always so together. You always have everything figured out. I didn't want you to think I couldn't handle my own life. The irony of it hit me like a physical blow. Here I was lying to my entire family about my relationship, and Lily thought I had everything figured out. I don't, I said. I really don't. I'm a mess, Lily. I'm so much of a mess that I stopped. Almost told her, almost confessed everything, but I couldn't. Not now, not when she was hurting. I'm here, I said instead. Whatever you need, I'm here. I need you to be happy, Lily said. I need one of us to get this right. I need to believe that love doesn't always fall apart. The words cut deep, deeper than she knew. Lily, please, she grabbed my hands. Don't let Ethan go. Whatever happened last night, fix it. Because the way he looks at you, that's real, Mara. That's the kind of love Mom and Dad had. And you deserve that. You deserve to be happy. I hugged her again, held her while she cried, and tried not to think about the fact that everything she believed about me and Ethan was a lie. That afternoon, Dad suggested we all go into town for the Christmas market. Lily begged off, saying she had a headache. I wanted to stay with her, but she insisted I go. I'll be fine, she said. I just need to sleep. So Ethan and I went with Dad, the three of us walking through the snowy streets of Stowe, past the decorated shops and the carolers, and the families doing their holiday shopping. It should have been nice. It should have been perfect. But all I could think about was Lily upstairs, pregnant and scared and alone. All I could think about was the lie I was living. All I could think about was the way Ethan had almost said something last night and then walked away. You're quiet, Dad said to me as we stopped at a booth selling handmade ornaments. Just thinking. About everything, nothing, I don't know. Dad picked up an ornament, a small wooden bird carved by hand. Your mother used to get quiet like this, when she was working through something. I learned not to push, just to wait. What if you waited and she never told you? Then I waited anyway. He paid for the ornament, tucked it into his pocket. But she always told me eventually, in her own time. We walked on. Ethan had stopped at a vendor selling Christmas wreaths, talking to the old woman running the booth. I watched him smile at something she said, watched him help her hang a wreath that had fallen. He was good, kind, real, and I was lying to him, to all of them. He's a good man, Dad said, following my gaze. Yeah, he is. You care about him. It wasn't a question. Yes. Does he care about you? I thought about last night, about the way Ethan had touched my face, about what he'd almost said. I think so. Maybe. I don't know. Mara. Dad stopped walking, turned to face me. I'm going to tell you something I learned from losing your mother. Life is short. Love is rare. If you find someone who sees you, really sees you, don't waste time being scared. Don't waste time wondering if you deserve it. Just hold on and don't let go. What if I'm not ready? Then you get ready. He smiled, sad and wise and knowing, or you lose them. Those are the only options. On the drive back to the house, it started snowing harder, much harder. By the time we were halfway there, the roads were nearly invisible. The truck slid on a patch of ice, and Ethan corrected smoothly, but his hands were tight on the wheel. Maybe we should pull over, Dad said from the back seat. Wait it out. There's nothing between here and home, Ethan said. We're better off keeping going slowly. But 5 minutes later, the visibility dropped to almost nothing. Ethan pulled over at a scenic overlook where a small ranger cabin sat dark and empty. We need to wait, he said. It's not safe. Dad tried his phone. No signal. Lily's going to worry. She'll understand, I said. She knows we're careful. We sat in the truck for an hour, the heater running, watching the snow pile up. Dad eventually dozed off in the back seat, his head against the window. Ethan and I sat in silence. I'm sorry, he said finally. About last night. I shouldn't have. What were you going to say? I interrupted. Before you left, you said you see me and you what? Ethan's jaw worked. Mara, tell me, please. I can't. Why not? Because this isn't real. He turned to look at me. Because we're pretending. Because in 2 weeks we go back to Ashford and we go back to our separate lives and this ends. And if I say what I wanted to say last night, it makes it harder. It makes it hurt more. What if I don't want it to end? The words were out before I could stop them. Ethan stared at me. What? What if I don't want this to be pretend anymore? My heart was racing. What if I want it to be real? Mara, you don't know what you're saying. I do. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that somewhere between asking you to fake date me and right now I started falling for you. I'm saying that last night when you touched my face and told me I was enough, I wanted to kiss you. I'm saying, stop. Ethan's voice was sharp. Please stop. Why? Because I promised Sarah. The words burst out of him raw and desperate. I promised her I would live, that I would let myself love again. But I also promised I would never forget her, that I would never replace her. And being with you, wanting you the way I want you, it feels like I'm breaking that promise. It feels like I'm choosing between her and you, and I can't do that. The pain in his voice broke my heart. Ethan, I said softly, she didn't ask you to be alone forever. She asked you to live, to love. That's not the same as forgetting her. That's honoring her. That's doing what she wanted for you. How do you know what she wanted? Because that's what I would want. I reached for his hand. If I loved someone enough to marry them, I wouldn't want them to spend their life grieving. I'd want them to be happy, even if it was with someone else. Ethan's eyes were bright, wet. I'm scared, he whispered. I'm so scared of losing someone again, of loving someone and having them taken away. I don't think I could survive it twice. Then don't love me, I said. My voice was shaking. If it's too scary, don't do it. I'll understand. We can finish these 2 weeks and go back to being neighbors, and we never have to talk about this again. I can't do that either. Why not? Because I already do. He looked at me, really looked at me. Love you. I already do. I think I have for months. Maybe since that barbecue. Maybe since the first time you knocked on my door. And it terrifies me, and I hate it, and I don't know how to stop. The world went very still. You love me, I whispered. Yes. Ethan's hand came up, cupped my face the way it had last night. God help me, yes. I love you, and I don't know what to do about it. I didn't think, didn't plan, didn't worry about whether it was the right thing to do. I just leaned forward and kissed him. Ethan made a sound, surprise maybe, or relief, and then he was kissing me back. His hand slid into my hair. His other hand pulled me closer as we could get, with a console between us. The kiss was desperate and soft and everything I hadn't known I needed. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. Mara, don't, I said. Don't overthink this. Don't tell me all the reasons this is a bad idea. Just be here with me, please. Ethan's forehead rested against mine. Okay, he breathed. Okay. We stayed in the truck for another hour waiting for the storm to pass. Dad woke up eventually groggy and confused about why we'd stopped. We told him about the visibility. He accepted it without question. By the time we got back to the house, it was dark. Lily was waiting in the living room wrapped in a blanket, her face pale. I was so worried, she said, hugging Dad. Then me, then Ethan. I couldn't reach any of you. We're fine, Dad assured her. Just took our time. Better safe than sorry. But Lily's eyes found mine, and I saw it. The fear, the exhaustion, the weight of her secret. I pulled her aside while Dad and Ethan were taking off their coats. How are you? I asked quietly. I don't know. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to do this. You don't have to do it alone. I'm here, and when you're ready to tell Dad, I'll be there too. You promise, I promise, she hugged me tight. I love you. I love you too. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About Ethan saying he loved me. About Lily being pregnant and scared. About the way everything was getting so complicated so fast. I heard a soft knock on my door. Got up to answer it. Ethan was standing there in the hallway wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair messy from sleep. Can't sleep, I asked. Can I come in? I stepped back, let him in, closed the door behind us. We stood there in the dark looking at each other. I meant it, Ethan said. In the truck. I love you. I know. I'm still scared. I know that too. But I don't want to pretend anymore. He took a step closer. I don't want to fake this. I want it to be real. But Ethan, I want to really be your boyfriend. I want to really hold your hand and really kiss you and really be the person you call when you're scared or sad or happy. I want all of it. If you'll have me. My heart was going to explode. Right there in my childhood bedroom, it was going to burst right out of my chest. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll have you. He kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, like we had all the time in the world. When we finally broke apart, he held me close, his chin resting on top of my head. We still have to tell them, I murmured, that this started as fake. Later, Ethan said, let's have this for a little while. Let's have something that's just ours. And even though I knew we should tell the truth, even though I knew this would get complicated, I let myself agree. Because for the first time in 5 years, I felt like I could breathe. For the first time since Mom died, I felt like maybe I was allowed to be happy, even if it started with a lie, even if the truth was waiting to catch up with us. The next 5 days passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost dangerous. Ethan and I stopped pretending. We held hands because we wanted to. We kissed in the kitchen when no one was looking. We stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. He told me about his grandmother who raised him, about learning carpentry at her side, about the way she'd known Sarah was the one before he did. I told him about Mom, about the last conversation we'd had before she got too sick to speak, about how she'd made me promise to keep living even after she was gone. I broke that promise, I admitted one night. We were sitting on the porch swing wrapped in blankets watching the snow fall. I stopped living, I just existed. I went through the motions, but I wasn't really there. You're here now, Ethan said, pulling me closer. Because of you. No, you. He kissed the top of my head. You were already coming back. I just got lucky enough to be there when you did. Lily watched us with knowing eyes. Dad smiled more than I'd seen him smile in years. Everything felt perfect, which should have been my first warning that it wasn't going to last. Marcus showed up on Christmas Eve. We were all in the kitchen, Dad making his traditional Christmas breakfast, casserole, Lily decorating cookies with obsessive precision, Ethan and I doing dishes when the doorbell rang. I'll get it, Lily called, already moving toward the door. I heard her voice, heard a man's voice respond, heard her say, "What are you doing here?" My stomach dropped. I looked at Ethan. He'd gone very still, his hands frozen in the soapy water. Then Lily was walking back into the kitchen and Marcus was behind her. He looked exactly the same. Blonde hair perfectly styled, designer jacket, that easy smile that had once made me feel special and now just made me feel tired. "Mara," he said. "Hi." Everyone stopped. Dad turned from the stove. Lily looked between me and Marcus with wide eyes. Ethan carefully set down the dish he was washing. "Marcus," my voice came out steadier than I felt. "What are you doing here?" "I came to get some things. Some books I left at your place. But Lily mentioned you were here and I thought—" He trailed off, his eyes moving to Ethan. "I guess I wanted to meet the new guy. Make sure he's good enough for you." The audacity of it struck me breathless. "You have no right," I started. "It's fine," Ethan said quietly. He dried his hands on a towel, extended one to Marcus. "Ethan, read." Marcus shook his hand and I saw the way he assessed Ethan, the way he tried to measure up, the way he found himself lacking and hated it. "Marcus Chen," he said. "I'm Mara's, well, I guess ex-boyfriend now. 3 years together. But I'm sure she told you all about that." "She did," Ethan said evenly. "Did she tell you how hard she tries? How she needs everything to be perfect. How exhausting it is, too. Marcus, Dad's voice cut through the kitchen like a knife. I think it's time for you to go. But Marcus wasn't done. He looked at me, and there was something mean in his eyes, something petty. I saw you at the hardware store last week, he said to Ethan, the one in Ashford. You were buying lumber, which means you live there, which means you're Mara's neighbor. He turned to me, the handsome neighbor. That's what you told Lily, right? That you'd been dating for 3 months. My blood went cold. But that's interesting, Marcus continued, because 3 months ago you and I were still together. So either you were cheating on me, or, he smiled, sharp and knowing, or this whole thing started more recently than you've been telling everyone. The kitchen went silent. Lily was staring at me. Dad had set down his spatula. Ethan was watching Marcus with an expression I couldn't read. It's not, I started. It's fake, isn't it? Marcus said. This whole thing. You couldn't stand the idea of showing up here alone after I left you, so you asked your neighbor to play boyfriend. Am I right? Marcus, stop, Lily said. I'm right, aren't I, Mara? Tell them. Tell them the truth. I looked at Dad, at the confusion and hurt starting to form on his face, at Lily, who looked like she'd been slapped, at Ethan, who was completely still waiting. It's true, I said. My voice was shaking. It started as fake. I asked Ethan to pretend to be my boyfriend because I couldn't face telling you all that Marcus had left me, that I'd failed again, that I was still the broken girl who couldn't keep anyone from leaving. Mara, Dad started, but it's not fake anymore. I continued looking at Ethan. It hasn't been for days. Maybe it never really was. I don't know. All I know is that I love him. And I'm sorry I lied to Rachel. I'm sorry I couldn't just be honest. But I'm not sorry for him. Marcus laughed, actually laughed. This is priceless. You really think... Get out. Ethan's voice was quiet but had an edge to it that made Marcus stop. You got what you came for. You proved your point. Now leave. Or what? Or I'll make you leave. Ethan took a step toward Marcus. You walked away from something good because you were too small to appreciate it. That's your loss. But coming here to humiliate her, that's just cruelty. And I don't tolerate cruelty. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Ethan's face made him think better of it. You're welcome to each other, Marcus said finally. He looked at me one last time. I hope he can handle you better than I could. Then he was gone. The door slammed behind him. The silence he left behind was deafening. Dad, I started. I need a minute, Dad said. His voice was tight, controlled. He walked out of the kitchen without looking at me. Lily stood there, her face pale. You lied to us. I know. You brought a stranger into our house and lied to our faces for almost a week. He's not a stranger. We don't know him. Lily's voice cracked. We don't know him, and you've been lying this whole time about everything. Not everything, I said desperately. Not about how I feel about him. That's real, Lily. That's the realest thing. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? Lily's eyes were filling with tears. You're supposed to be the responsible one. The one who has it all figured out. The one I can count on, and you're just as much of a mess as I am. The words hit me like a physical blow. Lily. But she was already leaving, running upstairs, a door slammed. I stood there in the kitchen, shaking. Everything was falling apart. Everything I'd been trying to hold together was crumbling. Mara. Ethan's hand found my arm. Breathe. I can't do this. I can't. Yes, you can. He turned me to face him. Look at me. Breathe. I tried. Failed. Tried again. I ruined everything, I whispered. No, you made a mistake. There's a difference. They hate me. They don't hate you. They're hurt. And they have a right to be, but they don't hate you. You should go, I said. You should pack your things and go back to Ashford. This isn't your mess to deal with. Like hell. Ethan's hands came up to frame my face. I'm not leaving you. Not now. Not ever. Do you hear me? Ethan, I love you. I'm in love with you. And yes, this started as an arrangement, but it became real the moment I agreed to it. Maybe before, and I'm not walking away just because things got hard. I lied to you too, I said. I told you I needed help avoiding my family's worry. But really, I was just I was just so scared of being alone, of proving that I'm not worth staying for. That's why I asked you. Not because I cared about my family's feelings, but because I cared about protecting my own. I know, Ethan said softly. I've always known. You have. Yes, because I did the same thing. I agreed to come here, not because I wanted to help you, but because I wanted to feel something again. Anything, even if it was fake, even if it was temporary, I was so tired of being numb. We stood there holding each other while the truth settled around us like snow. What do we do now? I asked. We tell them the whole truth. No more hiding, no more protecting ourselves. We just, we tell them everything and hope they can forgive us. And if they can't, then we deal with that too. He kissed my forehead. Together. I found Dad in his study sitting in the leather chair that used to be Mom's favorite. He was holding a photo of her. Of them, young and in love, and believing they had forever. Dad, I said softly from the doorway. Your mother would have known, he said without looking up. She always knew when you were lying, even when you were little, even when you thought you were being clever. I'm sorry. Are you just sorry you got caught? The question stung because there was truth in it. Both, I admitted. I'm sorry I lied, but I'm also sorry I couldn't just be honest from the start. I was so scared of disappointing you, of being the daughter who couldn't get her life together, of making you worry about me the way you worried after Mom died. Dad finally looked at me. His eyes were sad, tired. Mara, you could never disappoint me. You're my daughter. I love you no matter what. But lying to me, bringing someone into my home under false pretenses, that does hurt. That makes me question whether you trust me. I do trust you. Then why couldn't you just tell me the truth, that Marcus left you, that you were hurting? Because I'm supposed to be okay. The words burst out of me. I'm the strong one, the one who handles things, the one who took care of Lily after Mom died, the one who made sure you didn't fall apart. I can't be the one who needs help. I can't be weak. Being human isn't weak. It feels weak. It feels like I'm failing. Dad stood up, came over to me, put his hands on my shoulders. You've been carrying this weight for 5 years. The weight of thinking you have to be perfect for us. But Mara, we never asked you to do that. Your mother didn't die because you weren't perfect. She died because she was sick. And you staying away from her at the end, being busy with work, she understood that. She told me she understood. She knew you were scared. She knew you didn't know how to say goodbye. The tears came then. 5 years of tears, 5 years of guilt and grief and the desperate need to prove I was okay. I wasn't there, I sobbed. When she needed me most, I wasn't there. You were there every day before that, every day for months. You put your life on hold to take care of her, to take care of all of us. And when it got too hard, when it got too scary, you had to step away. That's human. That's allowed. I should have been stronger. You were strong enough. Dad pulled me into a hug. You're always strong enough. But you don't have to carry everything alone. That's what family is for. I cried into his shoulder the way I hadn't let myself cry in years. And he held me, the way he used to when I was small, the way he had the day we buried Mom. When I finally pulled back, wiping my face, he smiled sadly. Tell me about Ethan, he said. Tell me the real story. So I did. I told him everything. The breakdown with Marcus, the desperate plan, the way Ethan had said yes without hesitation, the way it had stopped being fake almost immediately, the way I'd fallen in love with him without meaning to. He's a good man, Dad said when I finished. That much I can see. And he loves you. That's clear too. How can you tell? The way he looks at you when you're not looking, the way he stood up to Marcus, the way he's standing outside this door right now waiting to make sure you're okay. I turned. Dad was right. Ethan was in the hallway leaning against the wall, giving us space, but close enough to be there if I needed him. Our eyes met. He gave me a small, encouraging smile. Go talk to your sister, Dad said. She's hurting too, and she needs you. What did I do to deserve you? I asked. You were born, Dad said simply. That's all it takes. Lily's door was locked. I knocked softly. Go away. Please, Lily. Let me talk to you. Silence. Then the sound of the lock turning. The door opened a crack. Lily's face was red and puffy from crying. She looked exhausted, lost. Can I come in? I asked. She stepped back. Let me in. Close the door behind us. We sat on her bed, the same bed we'd shared secrets on as kids. The same bed where she'd crawled in next to me the night Mom died and neither of us had slept. I'm sorry, I said. You're right, I've been a mess. I've been lying and hiding and pretending to have it all together when really I'm just as scared and confused as everyone else. Why didn't you just tell us? Lily's voice was small. About Marcus, about being hurt. Because you look up to me. Because Dad needs to believe I'm okay. Because if I'm not okay, then who's going to hold everything together? That's so stupid. Lily wiped her face. You're not responsible for holding us together. We're supposed to do that for each other. I know, I'm realizing that. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily said very quietly, I need to tell you something. I know, I said, about the baby. She looked at me shocked. You know, you told me days ago when Jake called. Oh, Lily laughed weakly. Right, I forgot. Everything's been so complicated. Yeah. Are you going to tell Dad? I don't know. I'm terrified. What if he's disappointed? What if he thinks I'm making a mistake? He won't, I said. He's going to love that baby, and he's going to help you figure this out. But Lily, you have to tell him. He deserves to know. Will you be there when I tell him? If you want me there? I do. Lily took my hand. I need you. I've always needed you. But I need you to be real with me. Not perfect. Just real. I can do that, I said. I'm going to try to do that. Good. Lily leaned her head on my shoulder. Ethan, you really love him. Yeah, I really do. And he really loves you, Toyin. He says he does. Then I'm happy for you. Lily squeezed my hand. Even if this whole thing started as a ridiculous rom-com plot, I'm happy you found someone who sees you. Thank you. But if you ever lie to me again, I'm going to kill you. Deal. That night was Christmas Eve. We did what the Collins family always did. We went to the candlelight service at the little church in town, then came home for hot chocolate and cookies and the reading of The Night Before Christmas. It should have been awkward, after everything that had happened, after all the truth that had come out. But somehow it wasn't. Lily sat close to me on the couch. Dad smiled more genuinely. Ethan fit into the rhythms of our family like he'd always been there. After the reading, after Lily had gone to bed, Dad stood up and cleared his throat. I want to say something, and he said, it's been 5 years since your mother passed. 5 years since we were all together like this. And I know, I know it's been hard for all of us. We've all been trying to figure out how to be a family without Hero, how to be whole when part of us is missing. He looked at me, at Ethan. But something your mother used to say, something I'd forgotten until recently, is that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to be imperfect together. It's about letting people see you at your worst and trusting they will stay. It's about falling down and letting someone help you up. His voice cracked. I'm proud of you, Mara, not because you have everything figured out, but because you were brave enough to admit you don't. Because you let yourself fall in love even though you were scared. Because you're learning that it's okay to need people. I couldn't speak, couldn't do anything but nod. And Ethan, Dad continued, I don't care how this started. I care about how it is now. And right now I see a man who loves my daughter. A man who stood by her even when things got messy. A man who understands what it means to lose someone and choose to love anyway. That's all I need to know. Ethan's hand found mine, squeezed tight. Merry Christmas, Dad said, to all of us. The broken, imperfect, trying our best family that we are. Merry Christmas, Dad, I whispered. Later, when Dad had gone to bed, Ethan and I stood on the porch in the cold. The sky was clear now, full of stars, the kind of night that made you believe in magic. Your dad is a good man, Ethan said. He is. Do you think he really forgave us? I think he's trying to, and that's enough. Ethan turned to face me. His hands came up to cup my face. I need to tell you something. Okay. When I agreed to come here with you, I thought I was doing you a favor. I thought I was being noble, helping someone who needed help. He paused. But really, you saved me. You gave me a reason to stop hiding, to stop living in the past, to start believing I deserved a future. Ethan, I'm not finished. He smiled. I love you, Mara Collins. I love how you try to fix everything. I love how you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders even though you don't have to. I love how you're learning to let people in, and I want it to be the person you let in. Not just for Christmas, not just for a month, but for as long as you'll have me. My heart was going to explode. Is this? Are you? I'm not proposing, Ethan said quickly. Not yet. We're too new for that. But I'm telling you that I'm all in. I'm telling you that when we go back to Ashford, I don't want to go back to being neighbors who barely talk. I want to be with you. Really be with you. I want that too, I said. I want all of it. Even the hard parts. Even when I wake up from nightmares about Sarah. Even when I shut down and can't talk about how I'm feeling. Even then, as long as you want me to. Even when I try to control everything. Even when I'm terrified of not being perfect. Even when I push you away because I'm scared of being hurt. Deal, Ethan said. He kissed me, soft and slow and full of promise. We'll be imperfect together. Imperfect together, I agreed. Christmas morning came with fresh snow and the smell of Dad's famous cinnamon rolls. We opened presents in our pajamas. Lily gave me a bracelet she'd made. Dad gave Ethan a set of his father's old woodworking tools. Ethan gave me a small wooden box he had carved with my initials on top. It's for keeping things safe, he said. Important things. Things you don't want to lose. Inside there was a note. I opened it. For Mara, thank you for asking me to pretend. Thank you for making it real. Thank you for teaching me to live again. All my love. Ethan, I couldn't speak. Just pulled him into a hug and held on tight. After presents, after breakfast, after the chaos of Christmas morning settled, Lily asked if she could talk to Dad. I sat with her while she told him. About Jake, about the pregnancy, about being scared. Dad listened, didn't interrupt. When she finished, he pulled her into a hug. I'm going to be a grandfather, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You're not mad, Lily asked. Mad, Lily, I'm thrilled. Scared for you, yes. Worried about how hard this will be, yes. But mad never. He pulled back to look at her face. Your mother and I weren't married when we had you. Did you know that? Lily's eyes went wide. What? We got married when she was 5 months along. So believe me, I understand, and I'm here. Whatever you need, however I can help. We're going to figure this out together. Lily burst into tears, happy tears this time, relief tears. I caught Ethan's eye across the room. He smiled at me, warm and proud and full of love. This was what family looked like. Messy and imperfect and real. We stayed through New Year's. Lily and I grew closer than we'd been in years. Dad and Ethan spent hours in the workshop out back, working on a project they wouldn't tell us about. On New Year's Eve, as we were packing to leave the next morning, Dad gave us a gift. It was the wooden bird ornament he'd bought at the Christmas market, the one he'd put in his pocket. This is for your first Christmas together, he said. Your real first Christmas, next year. Dad, I started. I'm proud of you, he said simply. Both of you, for being brave enough to love each other, for being honest eventually. He smiled. Take care of each other. That's all I ask. We will buy you out, Ethan promised. The drive back to Ashford was quiet but comfortable. We held hands the whole way, talked about everything and nothing, made plans for the new year. I want to design your workshop, I said, for real, not as payment, but because I want to. I want you to, Ethan said. I want it to be something we build together. Together, I agreed. When we got back to our street, Ethan pulled into his driveway but didn't let go of my hand. Come inside, he said. I want to show you something. We walked into his workshop, and there uncovered finished beautiful was the cradle, Sarah's cradle, but it looked different, complete. I finished it, Ethan said, while we were at your dad's. I'd work on it late at night when I couldn't sleep, and I finally let myself finish it. Ethan, I touched the smooth wood, the careful joints, the name carved in the headboard. It's for Lily, he said, for the baby. I want to give it to them, if that's okay. I turned to look at him, this man who had lost so much and was choosing to give anyway. This man who had been so broken and was learning to be whole again. It's more than okay, I whispered. It's perfect. Not perfect, Ethan corrected. He pulled me close. Just real. Just love. Just love, I agreed. 6 months later, the workshop was finished. Ethan's showroom had become something beautiful, half workspace, half gallery, all heart. My design, his craftsmanship, our collaboration. We worked there most days. Me at my drafting table, him at his workbench, together but separate, close but independent. Sometimes he'd look up from his work and catch me staring. Sometimes I'd feel his eyes on me and smile without turning around. We'd move slow, careful, learning each other without the pressure of pretending, learning what it meant to be real together. My apartment had become our apartment, though Ethan kept his house for the workshop. We fell asleep together every night and woke up together every morning. He learned I was grumpy before coffee. I learned he sang in the shower. We learned how to fight and make up. How to be honest even when it was hard. Today, Lily was coming to visit. She was 7 months pregnant now, glowing and huge and so happy, it made my heart ache in the best way. Jake had come back, had apologized, had proposed. They were making it work. The cradle sat in the showroom waiting. We delivered it last month and Lily had cried so hard she couldn't speak. Dad had stood there with tears running down his face, touching the wood like it was precious. It's time, Ethan said from across the workshop. I looked up. Lily's car was pulling into the driveway. She got out carefully, one hand on her belly, her face bright with excitement. Ready? Ethan asked me. I went to him, took his hand, looked at this life we'd built together. This real, imperfect, beautiful life. Yay, I said. I'm ready. Lily walked in, saw us standing there together and smiled. You two look happy, she said. We are, Ethan said. He looked at me. We really are. And it was true. We were happy. Not perfectly happy, not without scars or fears or bad days, but happy in the way that matters. Happy in the way that lasts. Happy in the way that's real. That night after Lily left after dinner, after the sun had set, Ethan and I sat on the porch of his house, our house really now, and watched the snow begin to fall. Do you ever think about how this started? I asked. How completely insane it was. Every day, Ethan said. He pulled me closer, and I'm grateful for every insane moment. Even the lying, because it led us here. Here is pretty good, I agreed. Here is everything, Ethan corrected. He turned to face me, pulled a small box from his pocket. Which is why I want to ask you something. My heart stopped, started again, raced. Ethan, I know we said we'd wait. I know it's only been 6 months. But Mara, I've waited my whole life for you, and I don't want to wait anymore. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. Will you marry me? Will you be my real girlfriend, my real partner, my real everything for the rest of our real lives? I looked at him, at this man who had agreed to fake love me and then really loved me instead, at this man who had lost everything and chose to love anyway, at this man who saw me all of me and stayed. Yes, I said. Yes, yes, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, kissed me, and we sat there in the falling snow, holding each other, two people who had been broken, finding a way to be whole together. Thank you, I whispered. For what? For saying yes, that first night when I asked you to pretend. For saying yes even though it was crazy. For saying yes and making it real. Thank you for asking, Ethan said. Thank you for being brave enough to ask. We stayed there until the cold drove us inside, until we were warm in bed, tangled together, safe and loved and real. And somewhere in the workshop in the darkness, Sarah's cradle waited to hold new life, a gift given from grief, a promise that love doesn't end, it just transforms, that we can lose everything and still find a way to begin again, that sometimes the best love stories start with a lie and become the truest thing we've ever known.